Please be seated.
Good afternoon. And there's another place I'm not going to recommend. No, because of service this time, but I apologize, we're later than anticipated getting started. Go ahead, Mr. Alden.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Mitchell, I think we left off, we're looking at this chart and we're looking at paroxetine. Recall?
Yes.
And I was asking you to, well, you could take a look at history, but also if you look at the PowerPoint, 2:34 a.m. Do you recall that that's when there were some searches for paroxetine?
On what date are we talking?
This is December, and thank you for that clarification, December 2nd, 2:31 to 2:34 in the morning, thereabouts. And that would be reflected in the PowerPoint that's in front of you. It also would be reflected at pages 21 and 22 of Exhibit 90, which is the Internet history.
Okay, and the specific time again you're referring to? On December 2nd?
2:31 in the morning.
Okay.
Through about 2:34, and it was in your PowerPoint as well, which is behind you.
Okay.
And are you aware of the computer of any other time other than between 2:31 and 2:34 in the morning on December 2nd when paroxetine was viewed?
Not off the top of my head, I'm not, no.
And just in those 3 or 4 minutes, paroxetine has 492 hits, right?
Not necessarily.
But you're unaware of anywhere else or any other time when it was looked up, correct?
Where the actual term paroxetine was looked up?
Correct.
I'm not aware.
And that wouldn't be any big surprise to you if a few minutes of searching could produce a few hundred hits, right, for a particular word?
I guess I'm not qualified to really say.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what the significance is of, for example, Volvo having 247 hits. Does that mean that the user was looking up Volvo on a daily basis, or might that just be a few minutes search on one particular day?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a search at all. It could be found anywhere from advertisements to select web pages that talks about cars. I mean, it doesn't necessarily come from a specific search.
That's right. I could be looking on Consumer Reports for Fords, and in those pages, they'd also be reviewing Volvos and talk a lot about Volvos for some reason, and I'd get a whole bunch of hits, right?
I suppose.
And so to suggest that somebody has a particular interest in Volvo, you don't really know that just because there's 247 hits, right?
Correct.
And the only internet history you found for Volvo cars was on November 29th. This is page 21 of the Internet History, Exhibit 90, between 3:07 and 3:14 p.m., about 7 minutes of searching.
There was 7 minutes of internet history involving Volvo cars that was recoverable, yes.
And no other evidence of Volvos being searched at any particular time, right?
Not according to the internet history.
And the internet history for those 7 minutes shows that specifically somebody went to volvocars.com.
That's correct.
And were you aware of whether Julie Jensen was planning on selling her vehicle?
I was not.
You don't know one way or another?
I didn't know.
Now, poisoning is a word that, at least out of your keywords, shows up the most, right?
Poison.
Poison. And would that, if you put in poison, would you get hits if the word was poisoning?
Yes.
So poison would encompass poisoning, poisoner.
Any form of the word.
And the question really is, who is looking up poison, right?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
I don't know who was looking up poison.
Well, maybe this is obvious. I probably didn't even have to put this up here. But this is just internet usage, right?
I believe so, yes.
Based on the records that you had, correct?
Correct.
And it was apparent to you that the internet history, internet files, that the record was pretty incomplete. Fair to say?
Correct.
There were long periods of time where there was very limited information regarding the use of the computer.
Correct.
True. Going back to these calendar charts, I see there's something called telescan, correct?
Correct.
That is not use of the internet, right?
You had to be on the internet to access the Trading Expert Pro.
Well, what is telescan? What happens with telescan?
Telescan is apparently the program used by this Trading Expert Pro program in order to get into that site or get into that program.
Well, you say apparently. Do you know?
I'm not an expert on Telescan.
So you really don't know how it works. Would that be fair to say?
How Telescan works? Correct.
And you'll see Telescan 4 minutes, right? That's on 4 minutes on July 11th, 4 minutes on July 13th, 3 minutes on the 14th, 3 minutes on the 15th, 4 minutes on the 16th, 5 minutes on the 17th. And that's pretty much how long Telescan is on for all of its entries throughout July, August, September, October, November, right?
Correct.
It's usually just 3 to 6 minute periods of time, correct?
Correct.
There are a few times when it's a little bit longer, like I think looks like it's 13 minutes for July 20th, but there are very few of those, fair to say?
Fair.
And did you check whether Telescan is really just connection through a modem to download data?
I didn't check on what Telescan actually does.
I mean, that's another possibility, is it just accesses the modem and downloads information without going on the internet, right?
I don't know.
And do you know whether that's a daily updated program?
No, I do not.
Do you know whether it automatically updates?
No.
You didn't check that.
No, I don't.
And you see that we have 7:45 p.m., 7:39 p.m. That one's 11. 7:42 back to 11. But a lot of these are just in the evening at a fairly similar period of time, right? For the 3 or 4 minutes? When we don't have any other internet activity?
The time periods that I'm looking at, I mean, I think that's a pretty broad.
Well, we got, this week we have
7
3
p.m. is a whole lot different to me than 11 p.m. So I wouldn't say that they're at the same times every day.
We have
no.
three in a row that are, 3 out of 4 that are about 7:40 p.m., right?
In that specific week.
Right, and we don't have any internet activity around that time, right?
That we were able to recover, no.
Well, did you try to do any research about how this program worked?
No, I didn't.
And you understand that there are programs that automatically update, right?
Yes.
And there are programs that you can set to manually update, or maybe they'll only update when you have the computer on.
Correct.
And so if the computer's not on at 7:45, somehow somebody turns it on at 11, it might not update until that period of time, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And if it's let's say market data, it wouldn't update during the day, would it?
I don't know. I don't know anything about the market.
I mean, you never saw any evidence that after data was downloaded that anybody ever accessed the data and worked on it, did you?
What data are you referring to?
Financial data from Telescan?
Whether they access data from Telescan?
Right. I mean, do you even know, does Telescan download financial data?
I don't know what Telescan does. I know that it's direct link with this Trading Expert Pro financial marketing tool.
Well, did somebody use Trading Expert Pro right after using Telescan?
I don't know.
You have no evidence of that, do you?
I do not have any evidence of that.
And you have no idea whether anybody was even at the computer when Telescan would run, right?
I guess I'm not sure on that.
Well, why is Telescan on here?
Because there were logs on the computer that showed that Telescan was accessed at those times and dates.
But the computer might have just done it itself, right?
I wouldn't think so.
Oh, but what's that based on?
Because computers just don't go on the internet and run programs on their own.
Well, Telescan is not in the internet history, is it?
No.
Which suggests that it's not going on the internet, doesn't it?
It could suggest that, but we don't have complete internet history.
Well, how many times has Telescan run during these 6 months?
I don't know. I'd have to count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 for July. Do you see this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. For August, that's 30. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Go up to 51. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Is that 66? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 86, we'll pull out December, we have at least 86 times. And you're telling me it was used 86 times and you don't think there'd be any internet history?
I don't know. You're asking me if I think it updates itself, but I see plenty of days where there is no log of telescan. So I would draw the inference that it doesn't update itself.
Well, instead of drawing an inference, you could have done the research, couldn't you, Ms. Mitchell?
It's not something I felt was relevant.
So it's not relevant whether somebody is even on the computer accessing the information?
Yes, that's relevant.
In fact, it has absolutely no value at all unless you know somebody is there on the computer, right?
I think it shows relevance as to what the computer's being used for.
Well,
I think it shows relevance as to what the computer's being used for.
well, if someone's not on that computer and it's just being accessed by a modem to update, somebody set that in motion in July, what's the relevance?
I don't know what you're asking me. Say it again.
I don't think we had admitted the underlying data here. Tell us show you it's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 107. Is that the log file from which you obtained the telescan information?
Yes.
Counsel, what was it you just showed us?
Defense Exhibit 107, the telescan log.
Do I have those? Okay, she's
And these logs seem to simply be showing a downloading of data, correct?
Correct.
And you never saw any indication on that computer that anybody, after data was downloaded, used that data, right?
No.
Correct?
Correct.
The only work files that were on this computer that looked like they were work files of Mr. Jensen's perhaps were from the first week or two that the computer was on in early mid-July, right?
The only work
Files in Word or anything like that? There's no evidence that there was work being done there, right?
there were some Quicken files that I would have assumed to be relevant to what Mr. Jensen's work was.
All right. Let's go to Quicken. There's only one Quicken in July. That's for July 11th. That's a Saturday, 11:36 a.m., right?
Correct.
And what is Quicken?
It's a financial program.
Well, financial program, what does it do?
It's like an accounting program.
It's frequently used by small businesses and homeowners to maintain their finances.
Yes.
A lot of people use Quicken just for their own personal checking accounts.
Sure.
And you examined Quicken on the Jensen's computer, right?
Yes.
And it appeared that they were using it for their home checking account, right?
Yes.
And we have, in September, Wednesday the 9th, 1:23 p.m., right?
Yes.
We have September the 14th, 10:18 a.m., right?
Yes.
Those are both during the workday,
Yes.
right? And then we have a Sunday at 6:47 p.m. Did you have an indication that Mrs. Jensen was the one using Quicken on the Jensen computer?
I suppose it's possible.
Well,
Hear what you said there.
It's possible.
we have again in October, on a Monday afternoon, 3:46 p.m., Quicken's being used, right?
Yes.
Tuesday afternoon, 3:55, Quicken's being used. Now we have another evening Quicken. The Quicken appears to be being used during weekdays, right?
Sometimes.
We have another one here, Thursday, 3:14 p.m. Thursday, October 29th, right?
I think so.
In November 30th, 2:29 p.m., Quicken's being used, right?
Yes.
Friday the 20th at 3:42 in the afternoon, another daytime weekday, right?
Yes.
And then we have two nights, a 10:55 at night and an 8:08 at night, right?
Right.
And the Jensens were, it appeared, balancing their checkbook with that Quicken program, right?
Correct.
All, what do you call them? All debit card activity was entered on that Quicken, it appeared?
I don't know if I saw debit card.
Credit card?
Credit card bills appear to be being logged. It looked like a checking account registry.
So both checks appear to be logged on Quicken, right?
Checks were logged.
And credit card payments, right?
I believe so.
And then there was a Sorensen account for Quicken on there, right?
Correct.
And do you know what that was for?
I don't specifically. By looking at it, it looked like investment information.
And you don't know who was doing those entries?
I do not.
All right. Well, let me talk to you about this this PowerPoint. Well, actually, I have one more thing. When you examined the computer, did you see evidence that someone had used the computer to create an invitation to a party?
Yes.
And was that to a baby shower?
I believe so.
Show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 108. Is that the invitation you saw created on the Jensen computer?
Yes, it is.
Do you know when that invitation was created?
I don't recall.
And it invites people to a baby shower for Robin and Doug on Sunday, August 30th at the Jensen home. Correct?
Correct.
And do you know who prepared this invitation?
I do not.
October 14th.
It's the picture first one.
If you could just go to the next one. We had some conversation the other day about this WinStar.
Sorry.
Do you need a break? You okay? All right. You were asked questions about this WinStar Cruise webpage. You recall that?
Yes.
And that's from October 14th, 1998.
Yes.
And at the time WinStar Cruise was looked up, there was absolutely no poison looked up, right?
On this particular date and time?
Well, we'll get to at any time. Was WinStar looked up right next to poison?
I would have to look. There's only a couple instances that I was able to recover WinStar being looked up. I know on the 14th there wasn't.
Well, let's go in order.
Okay.
On October 14th, someone looked up WinStar. Nobody looked up poison that day, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Right. From the records you have, nobody looked up poison. True?
True.
Nobody looked up anything else that you would consider suspicious in the sense of harming someone, right?
True.
During this PowerPoint, you were frequently asked a question that said something like, and the next site is what? And then you would explain what the next site is. You recall that?
Yes.
And I just want to be clear, you don't know whether the next site or page, rather, in your PowerPoint actually was the next page that the viewer went to, right? Later, another page, you can't say that there wasn't something in between, correct?
Correct.
And you're smiling. Is there some reason?
No.
Would you think that would be unusual to be missing pages?
In some instances.
I don't understand what that means.
Well, sometimes the amount of time that we're talking is sometimes between 1 and 2 minutes.
All right, could you go to October 16th at 12:15 a.m.?
October 16th at 12.
It's page 33 of the exhibit.
No, that's all.
Oops, a couple past. One more. Oops, no, sorry, one more back the other way. 12:15 a.m. on October 16th. There it is, thank you. So at 12:15:20 a.m., botulism was looked up, and this page on flavored oils came up, correct?
Correct.
And that's at page 33 of Exhibit 89. And botulism would be an instance where the cook kills the diner, right?
I'm not an expert on botulism.
Well, from what you've reviewed in these pages, you're talking about the cook killing the diner by not making food properly, right? Is that right?
Well, I'm rereading this because I'm not reading what you're saying.
Well, there are a whole number of pages about botulism as we went through the other day. And if food's not prepared right, then you can have botulism, right?
Correct.
And the cook would be killing the diner. True?
I suppose.
And do you know who the cook was in the Jensen home?
I do not.
So from this slide, we're at something called flavored oils, and that's at 12:15 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And then if we go to the next slide, we're at 12:21 a.m., right?
Right?
And Mr. Jamboys had suggested in his direct examination to you, and you agreed that suggested a person was looking at that flavored oils site with botulism for 6 minutes, correct?
I don't know how long somebody was looking at that particular page. I know that approximately 6 minutes elapsed before the next site
Well, when we look at this
was
site,
looked
though,
at.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's interrupting the witness. She was still answering the question.
It seems to me like she was finished. Had you completed your answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
well, this next site, as you call it, it's really just a different page, isn't it? I guess it's a Yahoo site versus something else, perhaps.
It's a Yahoo search engine site.
Okay. But the Yahoo search, it's a search for poisoning, right?
Correct.
And now we're at search matches 39 to 48, right?
Yes.
Well, how did we go from a slide on the previous page for flavored oils to all of a sudden we're on site matches 39 to 48? What happened to 1 through 38?
I don't know.
Well, it certainly suggests that there are missing web pages here, doesn't it?
It could, yes.
Well, it could. It certainly suggests that, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what you would conclude?
Yes.
And that's the problem in trying to use this entire PowerPoint to say this person did this, this, this. This does not necessarily reflect the steps that a person using that computer took, right?
That's true.
And another problem is, and you just suggested this, but if you have, for instance, a 3-minute gap or something, you don't know if the person went to the page and at that moment somebody told them the telephone was for them and they went to go talk on the telephone and then came back and they didn't even look at the page, right?
True.
If we could go to October 16th at 10:46:02.
What page are you, Counselor?
Page 42. Actually, if we go to 10:49, a couple more. Thank you. Let's go 2 more. All right, now we have John Joseph. That was a site that someone, or page that someone was at on October 16th at about 10:53 p.m. Correct?
10:53, you said. Yes.
And I take it you have no idea why someone was at the John Joseph entry, correct?
Correct.
This appears to be a list of Stiefel Nicholas employees.
One
Right.
of them, yes.
And then we go from there, we can go up 2 slides, please. 2 more. And we have somebody's inbox, right?
Correct.
And from the previous sites, there doesn't seem to be an easy way to get to an inbox, correct? And there doesn't seem to be a link to an inbox from what you're viewing on pages 46 and 47.
Correct.
So we may have some missing web pages here.
Or links not showing, maybe. I don't know, it's impossible to tell from the slides we're viewing.
All right. But one possibility is that there are missing web pages here after the search for John, or after somebody who's at the John Joseph page, right?
I suppose it's possible.
Well, and we just saw an instance where there seemed to be several missing pages, correct?
Correct, but here we're talking a minute time difference.
But we also are talking about a situation where there's not an obvious link to that next page, true?
Not from what I can see.
Now, if we go with 2 more, please. Thank you. The next thing looked at is an email from Kelly Labonte to Mark Jensen, correct?
Correct.
And that was at 3:25 that day, right?
That's the time the email was sent.
And this is just in the title of the slide, this looks like it's just a reading of the email, not a sending of the email or anything else, right?
Correct.
That is, somebody has apparently gone into probably Mark Jensen's inbox, right?
Correct.
And can you tell me whether there was a favorite on the Jensen home computer to go to the Stiefel Nicholas site?
I don't recall.
Can you tell me whether the password would be automatically entered to go to that site?
I don't know.
Do you know whether Mark Jensen typically used similar passwords?
I do not know.
Do you know whether his wife shared those passwords with him?
No, I don't.
You are aware from your prior experience doing forensic examinations that sometimes spouses spy on one another, true?
I don't think I can answer that.
So you haven't had occasion where it appears that one spouse is examining another spouse's email, or you don't feel qualified to answer that?
I'm not sure that I recall having a case specifically like that, no.
And are most of the cases you do end up being either child pornography or internet crimes against children?
Yes.
This is sort of a different case, right?
Yes.
You don't have very many cases requiring you to analyze this type of material.
That's correct.
If we go up 6 more. Thank you. And what's behind you, which is at page 53 of Exhibit 89, is the final result of the final search from this period of activity, correct?
That I was able to recover.
Right, you have no information that any other activity took place that night, right?
Correct.
And from what is here and what is in the previous slide where it says find names, it looks like someone searched the Stiefel directory for people named Kelly. right?
You could draw that inference, yes.
Because what we have here is the name of 4 employees who are named Kelly, right?
Yes.
And one of those Kellys is Kelly Labonte, right?
Correct.
And would you expect, based on the emails, that Mr. Jensen would have to search to find Kelly Labonte?
I don't know. In what respect? For an email address? It doesn't really give us a lot of information.
Well, a suspicious wife might only have the first name of a person that they think their husband's having an affair with, right?
Objection calls for speculation, purely relevant hypothetical.
Well, it's a little overruled.
I suppose a suspicious wife might only have a first name.
And this last search is a search for Kelly. True?
It appears that way.
Let me show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 109. You recognize Exhibit 109 as an email that you recovered from the Jensen computer?
Yes.
And this is some correspondence between Kelly and Mark, right?
Yes.
And the initial message is Kelly forwarding to Mark a joke from someone else, right?
Correct.
And that original joke was sent from someone named Ginny Yoder to Katie Friedrich, Jock Joseph, who then it says Colorado Springs, Kelly Labonte, and some other people, correct?
Correct.
And Colorado Springs is the only location identified in that email, right?
Correct.
And this email is dated September 30th, correct?
The forwarded email is yes.
And that email includes both the names of Jack Joseph, Colorado Springs, and Kelly Labonte, true?
True.
And I'm sorry, that's 107?
109.
109. I move Defendant's Exhibit 109.
Any objection will be received.
We go to October 19th, please. Next. On October 19th, Ms. Mitchell, someone using the Jensen home computer was at web pages dealing with alchemy, pipe bombs, anarchist, the anarchist cookbook, and something called spunk, right? This is beginning at page 56.
Correct.
And there are 21 pages in this PowerPoint exhibit, Exhibit 89, dealing with the searches that took place, or the pages that were visited on October 19th, correct? Doesn't it go from 56, page 56 to page 77? Nope, 78.
Correct.
22 pages.
22.
And all these sites, there is, among all these pages, sites, there's no Stiefel Nicholas work activity, right?
I don't believe so, no.
There are no emails between Mark Jensen and Kelly Labonte, right?
Correct.
Someone during this period of time on October 19th is looking up potential methods of destruction like pipe bomb, but there's no link here to Mark Jensen, is there?
Other than it being his computer in his home? No.
And there's, by the same token, if I said there's no link to Julie Jensen here, you would answer other than it's her computer and it's her home, right?
Correct.
The next activity reflected in the PowerPoint is November 10th, page 79. And November 10th is when the first activity relating to ethylene glycol was observed by you, right?
Correct.
And that also is the first date that you saw suicide, right?
Correct.
And we have searches on that day for suicide, correct?
Yes.
Physician-assisted suicide.
Yes.
A talk about a person named Noel Early.
Correct.
And Noel Early was a Vietnam veteran who favored euthanasia,
Correct.
which is another way of saying suicide.
Yes.
And then there were some toxicology sites, correct?
Correct.
A nicotine site, or page, right?
Yes.
And then some more toxicology.
Yes.
And then the next activity reflected is all the activity we looked at on December 2nd and 3rd, mostly dealing with antifreeze or ethylene glycol, right?
Right.
Other than, and then those sites about paroxetine or Paxil.
Correct.
And at the time of those ethylene glycol, well, let me back up for a second. And those searches on the 2nd and 3rd took place on a few different occasions, correct? A few different periods of time?
Correct.
If you were going to frame someone using a computer, you'd probably want to do that during times when they'd be expected to be home, right?
I suppose.
This seems an argumentative question, Mr. Alden.
Okay. In the internet history, Ms. Mitchell, Exhibit 90. There's activity at 2:21 a.m. and 3:07. No, I'm sorry, that's p.m. So there's some activity at 2:21 a.m. right?
Which
Page
day?
20, page 21, Exhibit 90, Internet History.
On December 2nd, you're referring to?
No, I'm sorry, November 29th.
Oh, okay. At 2:21, correct?
And that's a cookie for Sierra antifreeze.
Correct.
And were you aware from your review of this case that Julie Jensen was complaining about sleepless nights?
No, sir.
Do you know that one way or another?
No, actually, I guess I don't.
And similarly, the previous day, November 28th, there's some activity at 12:20 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Including something called the Big Book of Mischief, right?
Correct.
And again, you're not aware about Julie Jensen complaining about sleepless nights?
Objection has to be answered.
Sustained, and also these are already noted.
When you did the chart on word searches, did you make any effort to validate your results?
Meaning,
Did you validate, what did you use, Encase?
I used Encase to perform the keyword searches.
Did you attempt to validate it by using, for instance, Forensic Toolkit or some other program to try to make sure those were accurate?
No, the only program we use is Encase.
What did you do to make sure the times were accurate on the information that you've provided?
I don't understand your question.
Sure. What did you do to make sure that the times for instance, we have Exhibit 90 with all the internet history, and there are a bunch of times on there reflecting when you believe certain activity took place. How is it that you made sure that the times were accurate?
On Exhibit 90, the information is derived from a program called Net Analysis, which has been tested and verified in our lab over a period of time. We've used it for quite a lengthy amount of time.
Well, did you do anything particular to make sure that the time was accurate?
On this particular case?
Yes.
No.
You're aware that prior to the time that you did the, I'm blanking on the term, when you make the mirror image, the right...
Right blocking?
Right blocking, thank you. I was blocking the right blocking. Prior to that time, it would be easy for someone to change time if they were so inclined. You can manipulate the time setting and then change it back, and that's difficult to detect, correct?
Change the time on...
The time on the computer, thereby affecting the times for all the entries?
I suppose that's possible.
Did you make any effort to see whether anything like that had happened at any time?
There would be no way to detect something like that.
Judge, I would move to strike exhibits 82, 84, and 85, which are the internet usage by time of day charts on the grounds that this witness did not know how they were prepared and could not establish their accuracy.
Did you want to respond?
I would be opposed to that motion, Your Honor. This witness has testified as to the base of her knowledge for it, and she's indicated that it was based upon the information that she provided. Now, in terms of the definition of the number of internet hits, she has testified as to what her understanding is in that regard. So this does not go to the admissibility of these exhibits, Your Honor. It goes to the weight that the jury chooses to ascribe to them.
Well, I do think that her testimony was that she was, that the information, she had provided information to others who then did some interpretation and created the chart, so I am going to grant the request.
I didn't get the exhibit numbers, Your Honor.
80, I believe they're 82, 84, and 85.
Are these the calendars? Is that?
These are the internet usage by time of day.
82 is an email. 83 is a large file.
You got the wrong numbers.
There are two numbers on here, so maybe that's 85. '84. Wait. 34, 35. I'm looking at the wrong numbers. 33.
Let me see them. Okay. They're stricken, the testimony does not support the exhibits, and for that reason, they're not to be considered as evidence. Well, I think, I know they were. We'll have to deal with it later.
And Ms. Mitchell, I'd invite your attention to page 29, Exhibit 90 of the Internet History. And there are entries on that day for Internet History for December 17th, correct?
Correct.
There are 8 entries for December 17th, even though the Jensen computer was in the hands of the police, right?
Correct.
And even the user ID is even Buddy, isn't it?
Yes.
Even though no one from the Jensen home would have been available to enter in their user ID of Buddy, correct? Which demonstrates that anyone could get on this computer and use it without entering anything specific, correct?
Correct.
That's all.
Mr. Chambliss?
Your Honor, could take a recess, please.
All right, we'll take a break, folks. Please don't talk about the case during the break.
All right.
It's not mid-examination now, so you'll need to show a special cause why. You would ask for your, quote, usual order?
Yes.
I presume the usual order is that he doesn't want me to talk to the witness that I'm about to put on the stand on direct examination.
Oh, you're not doing
I mean, on redirect examination?
Yeah, no, that's, I assume, what he wants me to do, and I told him he'd have to show a special cause, since it's, I've issued the order typically only during the middle of an examination.
I guess my concern is that really a witness will be told what answers the prosecution didn't like during cross, and things will be fixed.
You know, that's always a risk. There's no question about that, but you know, merely saying, sometimes it's evident from the lawyer's face, just saying that an answer creates a problem is not a suggestion to commit perjury, and these charts are an excellent example of something that I'm sure Mr. Jemwes will want to work on, and it's a question.
Well, I mean, you know-
But I'm just saying there are legitimate reasons why a lawyer would want to have a discussion with the witness, and so that's not sufficient for me to issue a special order that he can't talk with the witness. Go ahead. Order 2.